first day, and I go up to my dressing room, and as you can imagine, to be on the same bill with Sarah Vaughan was fantastic. And I was in my dressing room. They were very funny dressing rooms because at that time they were all lined with linoleum. And you always knew to take a can of roach spray when you went to the Apollo. And so you would spray the dressing room to keep the roaches out. They would go next door. The people next door would spray. They'd come back. So this game went on and on. So in the middle of all this, there's a knock on the door, and in walks Sarah. And she said, "Annie." I said, "What?" And it was one of the great moments of my life. She said, "Teach me doodling." Well, for me to teach Sarah Vaughan one of my songs and solos was beyond my wildest dreams.
Hello everyone, welcome to New York Jazz Stories. We're still in Portland here. We're going to go downtown and check out some artifacts, as I like to call them, areas that used to have jazz. So come along and we'll see what we find out. To be a musician, there are so many directions where you want to go. Pop. Want to play piano bar, little burlesque. So many directions where you want to go. We were very close. Just like now, at that time, I was in the restaurant business with my dad. I wasn't a professional musician. That was the late 40s back then. I took over the restaurant. My dad opened up another one. So I took over this one. And, but you know, I was in love with the music. Now this restaurant was open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We had a piano in the back, and a lot of professional musicians came in, and we had the best jukebox in the world. We had, you know, stuff like Sarah Vaughan and Louis Armstrong and Duke Ellington, but we also had Shostakovich and Darius Milhaud and Stravinsky. There were magazines, articles on U.B. Blake and Willie the Lion Smith. 2 or 3 in the morning, musicians would come in, and they're all like, "Oh man, who's better, Lester Young or Coleman Hawkins?" Right? So Herbie Nichols, later tonight, Herbie Nichols used to be part of that group, and it was very spiritual, very spiritual. Now, during that period, I heard some amazing musicians that never made a record, not one record. It was an incredible time, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s. Okay, so here's where the light rail comes up. There used to be a really cool club 3 doors down from the restaurant there. It was called PC&S Tavern back in the day, 80s. That's where you could go and hear some great music. When they put the tracks in here, they had to close all the shops. Remember, there was some kind of hope held out to the retailers that they would survive somehow, even though they'd have to be closed for quite some time. But I don't think that PC&S survived that upgrade in transit. Looking around, trying to see if there's anything familiar. I don't remember this was a 7-Eleven, or a flat pantry, and I swear I recognize that evergreen tree there. So that hasn't changed, unfortunately. What's the bad news? That's the building that replaced the Jefferson Theater and the Jazz Quarry. Cities seem to rebuild themselves on top of each other. But I live here, so I kind of want to make a connection between here and New York, you know. And that was my first thing. I thought I'm going to walk up to the Jazz Quarry. Okay, here we go. So when you go to the motherland of Africa, music is the first language spoken. I don't care if you're in Morocco or South Africa. So that tradition carried on with us. So when we grew up, it was just a natural law. Everybody knew musicians. And we heard all kinds of music. I mean, we heard calypso and black church on Sunday music and the blues, and our parents might bring home an opera to listen to. So we had all kinds of music, and I tell you, that's what was incredible about it. Man, there were people like Herbie Nichols, there were people like Elmo Hope and Walter Bishop and Sonny Clark. Oh man, Sonny Clark. Wonderful pianists in their 20s, and completely well-formed, you know. So I used to go out to these after-hours places. I had a friend that had gigs, and after the gigs, we would go out. And about 4 a.m, everybody starts, and you go through, and then you get up and you come upstairs, and bam, the sunlight hits you right in the eyes. That period was just incredible. Oh, here it is. Here's the Imperial. This used to be a pretty cool jazz spot. Do they have a piano in there? Let's see. I don't see anything.
That's where they moved to, because downtown with the protests and all the COVID and all the rioting and all that.
Nothing.
Yeah, oh man, Portland used to be a great place to live.
Yeah.
They need to change the camping because it's just not working.
I know.
I'm afraid, I understand. I was homeless once, but you can't have people blocking the sidewalk.
Do you play music?
Oh man, I'm learning how to play the guitar.
You are? Yeah. What kind of stuff do you like?
More bluesy stuff.
Yeah,
Jim Croce type, John Prine.
Right, yeah.
Stuff like that. Yeah.
It's like that's the source of so much music, blues. Yeah.
That's what inspired me.
Yeah, it is.
I love stuff like that.
Yes.
I want to know how to do that.
And so now you want to do it. Years later. Yeah.
I kind of think it was working the way you had it before.
Yes.
Without all the, it's good.
Like the original thing?
Well, it was working.
Yeah. There was a tiny stairway that led to a tiny bedroom. That was Perry's bedroom. A tinier
alcove were the world's smallest keyboard, a music stand, his clarinet, a window, a faded poster from a show from long ago, and little S. Even though we'd stayed up rather late the evening before, Perry was up like a quiet firecracker going about his daily routine. I could hear him going about saying something here and there, but once the radio started, well, that was it. And I ventured into the kitchenette to find Perry busy preparing something. He sensed my presence immediately and whirled around with a hearty, "Good morning, maestro." And ho, and did you sleep very well? Can I make you some breakfast? When I discovered what Perry was making, I wasn't up for it. He may have just had some toast. He was making a grand sardine sandwich with all the trimmings and then some. It was comprised of dark, heavy Russian bread that Perry stressed the importance of, and a special kind of sardines that just any can would not do. Then there was the choice of either spicy kimchi or old world authentic cabbage. It's called Perry's Power because after sweating and snorting the gigantic fish sandwich down with patience and reverence, sweat pouring from his cheeks and forehead, he made a He-Man stance, flexing his wiry arms and growling, "Arr, maestro! That is it. I am ready. Ready for anything. Ah, beautiful, baby, beautiful." And that's what they call Perry's Power. You know, it's hard to find the geographical artifacts of beautiful music and people. The people really are the artifacts, you know? I believe it was Claude Lévi-Strauss who said, "I am the place in which something has occurred." We are the place in which something has occurred, right?
It was our parents who would bring in the best music into our houses, and different music, man. They might come up with an opera, or come in with calypso music. So even our mothers and fathers, they were the ones who taught us about music. And we had to take piano lessons, or dance lessons, or violin. Man, it was a period of serious segregation, but culturally rich. Harlem, Brooklyn, Kansas City, all the cities, Chicago, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and everybody had to be original. You couldn't sound like somebody else. Get out of the way. You better have your own thing.